Welcome to Elite Rugby SandC podcast, the best podcast talking all things rugby and strength and conditioning. At Elite Rugby SandC, we provide athletes with strength and conditioning programs that provides you with everything you need to become a beast and take your game to the next level. No matter what stage of the year or season, Elite Rugby SandC has a program for you. You can try before you buy, so try our 7-day $7 trial to get a taste of what we offer here at Elite Rugby SandC. Also, sign up to our newsletter and receive free bonus content each and every single week. So take your game to the next level, become a beast, and join Elite Rugby SandC today. Today on the podcast, Coach Ben joins me and we talk about how to become a beast in the off-season. We talk about gym and field training, and we discuss when you should start your training again after the season has ended. We talk about training over the holiday period, and we also provide many more great tips and advice on how to maximize your off-season to become a beast. Now, if you feel overwhelmed by what we have talked about today and just don't know how to train in the gym or on the field this off-season, join Elite Rugby SandC today. At Elite Rugby SandC, we have the Become a Beast off-season program ready to go for you. This program lasts 14 weeks and covers all your strength, power, speed, conditioning, and recovery needs. So maximize your off-season now to become a beast. If you do purchase this program for the off-season, we will throw in a free recovery protocol just for you. So make that good decision and become a beast today. Link in our bio, team. Enjoy. G'day, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, really well. Thank you, Kieran. Fantastic day today. Excited about talking about what we've got on offer. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going well, thanks. It is a nice, beautiful day here in Canberra. It's even that nice that I've even gone out and mowed the lawn today as well. So must be good weather.
And I hear you've been doing some weeding as well. Right?
Yeah, I got a new tool, so I'm going to bring that out tomorrow. So did the lawnmower today, just in case it rains tomorrow. But yeah, we'll bring the weeder out tomorrow and get into the backyard.
All right. Maybe we can pull out some weeds in this chat we've got today too.
Yeah, who knows? Good plug there. So today we're going to be talking about the off season and how to become a beast during this off season. So my first question off the bat is, when should I start the off season program to better myself for rugby next year?
Yeah, it's really important that you do have a bit of a downtime, but the off season should pretty much start once your season finishes. And what do I mean by off season? It's different from a pre-season. An off season is an active rest and a chance for you to develop some other areas. So look, I wouldn't give yourself more than say a week of doing not much at all. I'd get into it pretty quickly as soon as your football finishes. Knowing that you've got time before your pre-season. What are your thoughts, Kieran?
Yeah, I think that as well. So I think having around maybe 1 to 2 weeks maximum off training, just to really allow yourself just to understand what has gone on with that season and just sort of relax a bit, and then just sort of listen to your body as well. But it's also a good time in that 1 to 2 week period to really understand your body and go see a physio if you have had a few niggling injuries and get them sorted, just because you don't want to be like, oh yeah, she'll be right. I'll just leave it for a month and let it heal by itself without actually doing something. So I think it's really good to have 1 to 2 weeks off, really assess your body, see where you're at, enjoy the week off, or 2 weeks off, and just relax a bit and enjoy having your Saturdays back, because it's a long day on a Saturday if you're playing, and it's a lot of rugby. So it's a good time for you to just relax a bit, spend some time with family or friends or your partner, and just relax before getting into that next component of training.
Might just add something you mentioned there, seeing a physio. So the biggest risk for most sort of developing players or amateur players is taking an old injury that you haven't dealt with. You take it into the next season if you don't get it sorted. So I think that's a really, really good point. So many times if someone's had an niggling injury, they've had this off season, they start their preseason, and week 1, week 2, week 3, it flares up. Oh, what have you done about it? Oh, nothing. I just let it rest. So you've just wasted 3 or 4 months of your downtime when you could have got that sorted.
100%. So before you start training again in the gym and on the field, you probably need to have a quick review of the previous season. And during this review, you need to ask yourself certain questions. What questions do you think are important to ask yourself about how the season has gone?
Well, you can think of a team, a coaching team, performance team, a medical team actually sit down and do this in a way, and find out, what were the things that went well with the team in terms of like their physical performance and their skill performances and their injury stuff. What didn't go so well, like just say you're in the season and you had a reoccurrence of a couple of injuries. Um, and also take a look at what is needed for you to make not just the level that you're at, make the next level. What is your physical limitation that will stop you being picked at the next level? And that's it gives you a bit of a chance to look at that type of area. So definitely your injury history would be very, very important. Having a deep understanding of what your physical limitations are and what your strengths are, and not just going and doing your favorite things because that you find them easy. But I think you've mentioned this before really well. Talking to your coaches, talking to rep coaches, talking to your teammates, and sometimes if you've got friends with the opposition teams, actually chat to them as well.
100%. I think it's all those things plus more, and I think it's also important to understand what was the highlight of the season as well. What's something that you planned from the start of the year in the preseason or the off season, and it went well throughout the season. I think if you can review that as well, you're not just focusing on all the negatives, you're also adding some light into the positives, and you're going to continue to grow that area as well. I think creating that action plan once you've understand all this, you've had that review, you've had some time to think, had some time to talk with your coaches, friends, family, whatever it is, and then you can put in an action plan to really start getting the ball rolling during the off season. So it sets you up well for that preseason. And I think another one that I was gonna touch upon, which I think I've forgotten already, but I think it's just finding areas that you really want to improve on. What are those 1%ers that can really help you improve your game for next year? So I think a review is really good. Just write some stuff out one day, let it sit for a bit, go back, write some more stuff. I don't know, and then just review it and just see what you think is going to be needed for next year, and just sort of start creating a plan from there.
Yeah. And obviously, being strength and conditioning, what we're talking about, but you do that with your skills as well as your nutritional habits and your recovery habits and your ability to deal with injuries as well. I'd take a look at that, but also, um, you know, if you can, watching some footage of you playing as well, and having that unemotional sort of viewing it like you were viewing somewhere else to actually see and have that bit of distance between the season and now to review how you really went. And if you've got some
Mhm.
footage, it's a great way to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the question I was going to ask. So great minds think alike. Right there is viewing the games that you thought you played really, really well, and understand why did you play so well, and then also watch the games you didn't play so well. Even though it's going to be very tough to watch, definitely watch those games because you're probably going to identify some areas that can really help take your game to the next level.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, it's what you did through the week to lead up to that as well. Was your
Mm.
nutrition on point? Was your recovery? Did you train well? Did you, aim to get that extra sleep? Little things like that. And you'd just be honest with yourself.
100%. You could go categories. So you can have the gym area, you can have your field area, then you can have your routine throughout the week, and then you can also have your key position and what are the skills and attributes needed for that position to go well. So, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Splitting into different columns and just reviewing each column and creating an action plan from there.
I agree.
So when I do start training in the gym, what should my program look like? Like, what's the split? What's the routine? Sets, reps, focus. What are your thoughts about that, Ben?
Look, it's interesting when you go back. It's not just gym. Like you still need to run a couple of times a week, or you still probably need to do some type of aerobic work 3 times, but definitely running twice. I would probably go for more a whole body to start off with or an upper lower split, you don't go down the bodybuilding route. That's just not what you are. That's just going to lead to tendon problems in shoulders and different areas because you're doing so much volume in one movement pattern. And looking at your action plan, you probably work from there. But I think a lot of it is at the beginning, slightly higher reps, restoring some size, but building up that connective tissue. But looking at like an upper lower split and a whole body, or a couple of whole body sessions. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you've answered quite well. Is focusing on whole body or just have that lower upper split. You could even just go Monday focusing on that whole body, Wednesday upper body, and then like a Friday you can do a lower body type sort of session. And then I think it's introducing yourself back to training. We don't want to be going hard and doing this high intensity, high volume straight away just after, because we'll just play the season. So it's that slow, gradual, reintroduction of getting back in the gym and getting back on the field. And we really just want to go back to our basics, back to our basic lifts, back to our basic running technique and certain drills that we do. And we're not overdoing it. We're not adding anything fancy. It's just reintroducing the load back to our body so we can maximize our time on the field and in the gym. And just, you're not going to win grand finals, in this time of the year. You're slowly building yourself back up to then get ready for next season and then go out and see what happens.
Yeah, and think of this is prep for your pre-season, isn't it? The off-season, you start slowly and gradually in building up, but it stops you from detraining as well, and it allows not only your muscles but your connective tissue and all of that type of stuff to be repaired and ready for your pre-season. So I like the way that you've called it, and it's a ramp up. It's not a steep ramp, but it's a ramp that will take you to higher places. How steep it is not probably a little bit different from a traditional pre-season.
100%. And you can even have a two-a-days type of session. You can spend half an hour in the gym or 45 minutes in the gym and then go spend half an hour out on the field, and so that next day you have a full day's rest and then you can go again. So you don't have to do sort of a gym field throughout the week. You can just do it in one day. You can do something in the morning and the afternoon, or you can do it all in the morning. It's up to whatever fits your schedule, but it's really making sure that you're having that rest in there. We're not just overdoing it straight off the bat.
Yeah. Well, this is the only time where you can train, and if you're doing a whole body, then some type of running on that day. The next day you have off, and repeating that process. If you're doing that well, you're having 3 days off a week, but and it allows for that adaptation, like you're talking about.
So something you did answer already, but in the off season, is it a time where I just become a bodybuilder, or is it just and just get size and get big? Is it that time of the year, or is it much more than that?
Look, you do put on depending on what your goal is. Like if you've taken a review and you're a 130 kilo person, and putting on exercise isn't going to be ideal for you because you've had Achilles tendon problems through the year, and you're strong, but you're lacking core strength, and you've got tendon issues, no chance. If you're slightly lighter and you need to put on weight, yep, you can have a more size focus. But then at the end of the day, it's a running-based sport. So you've got to, it doesn't matter how big or strong you are if you can't run and make, catch a football at the right time or make a breakdown at the right time. So you still need to be working on your running while you're building up your strength and size. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's perfect. You need to be able to keep moving and keep running because, like you said, that's fundamental skills in our game. I do see it quite a bit. The certain rugby players just go into the gym and just want to get bigger. I just want to get bigger, put on size. It's really going to help me. And then we get back out into the running aspect, and then just you're slow. You're not moving the way that you probably should be moving, and it takes you probably half your preseason to get to where you want it to be, which you could say you've just wasted some quality time, and then the back end of the preseason, you start playing games and you're probably not in the right area that you want to be. And then when game days come around, you're sort of not where you wanted to be, and you're sort of on the back foot where you could have been on the front foot if you continued to train like a rugby athlete during the off season.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and probably to give people a bit of an idea. When I was looking at after a club, we were quite successful for periods of time. I'd expect people to turn up to their first pre-season training able to play a first grade game. So look, we'd turn up on a Thursday. We're going to do the same volume and intensity as a first grade game. So you have to prepare your body for that. Although we'd have the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the Monday off, and they come back Tuesday. But that's the pressure I put on them to look after themselves before they turned up for their preseason, because if you're turning up in a preseason to think to get fit to play football, yeah, it's very different. You want to turn up fit to be a rep player and to win premierships. Very different from turning up to play, get fit for football. It depends on your mindset.
100%. So building off what we've already answered about the gym, it goes to the field where we have answered that a little bit, but when should I start doing field training, and what does that program start to look like for athletes?
In terms of field training, do you mean just running in football, or you just
Yeah, just doing conditioning, some speed work, run tech, and then also working on your rugby skills as well.
Yeah, well, I think you've answered it there. Good warm up, which is the late stage, is working on some form of speed. You might be more acceleration focused on one day and more, VMAX on another day, depending on your position. So if you can, you've got run tech in your warm up, and then you've got some acceleration type work going into your conditioning, then even some conditioning where it's off deck type of work. But definitely getting your hands as much as you can on a football, keeping that coordination going. The good idea might be, if you really struggle running, and I think you've mentioned it earlier before we jumped on here, things like touch football, Oz tag, some form of team sport could be your running as well. I think that's going to cover a lot of things, making sure that you warm up properly
Mm.
for those events. And what are your thoughts? What else could you do?
Yeah, I think adding in some off-feet conditioning is a great way to change up your training, and you don't have to go outside if it's ridiculously hot or it's pissing down rain or something like that. You can make up all the excuses that you want to, but if you're doing off-feet conditioning inside a gym, you're in a very nice, cool environment, so you can just get on a machine and start doing that. So I think adding in some off-feet, so you're on the bike erg, the row erg, the ski erg, or you're on the assault bike doing some battle ropes or boxing. I think something along those lines can work really well, and it's just something different. It's not running, it's not really related to anything part of the sport, but it's also going to help you with building up your aerobic and anaerobic capacities, and it's just something different. There's nothing wrong with doing something different. You can do like some sort of circuit based, if you're quite heavier on that aspect, or even if you are quite fit, change it up, try and do something different. So I think some off-feet training or some circuit-based training can be a great way to go if you're looking just for something different, but still getting in some volume into your lungs as well.
Yeah, I really think for a minimum, particularly for, say, a junior or club level athlete, you've still got to be on feet twice a week. You really, really do. With a third or and a fourth option being what you've talked about then, but you really need to be on feet to keep the all your calves, Achilles, you've foot muscles and that type of work going as well. I think that's a minimum, rather than taking it all just off feet, which is what you're
Mm.
suggesting anyway.
Yeah, yeah. If you just went straight off feet and then back to high running volume, your body's not going to like it, and then you're going to get some little niggles, and it's not going to be good for anyone.
I was just thinking, there was a prop, and he was sort of playing twos and threes more, and he really struggled in the off season to do some running. And he asked for a suggestion. I got him to play touch 2 to 3 times a week. He ended up playing 3 times a week. When he came to preseason, it was fantastic. So, that's without any thought or effort that he had to put in, it just made him such a better prepared athlete when he came back from that, ready for that preseason.
I got a bit nervous then. I was like, shit, is he talking about me? Or did I say that? Or did I give that? Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Funny.
But yeah, that answers sort of the next question is what else can I do during the off season to help build my rugby ability and changing up your training. So you're adding in some touch footy, Oz tag, swimming, some social sports. There's something different out there. There's like social sports doing like baseball and kickball. You can even go do Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something different, but I don't know, it takes your mind away from rugby, but it's going to add value to rugby as well. And it's also putting in some competition, because if you play rugby, you love competition and you want to be competitive, and there's nothing wrong with continuing that throughout the whole year. And playing some social sports is a great way to keep up that competitiveness, but also it's like distracting you that you're actually doing fitness. Some people don't like to go out doing running and all that, but if they actually go do touch footy or Oztag or something, you're running and you're blowing up by the end of it, and it's sort of a good way to distract you from actually doing fitness, even though you're doing it.
Yeah, and that's it. You can grab a couple of mates and go enter in a touch footy comp, and that way, like you said, if it's too pretty hot or it's raining, you go, "Oh, I'm going to go play anyway." So that sort of overcomes that, and you've got that social aspect as well. I think
Mm.
that's fantastic. If people avoid it, some running I've given them, but they go and play, a game of touch footy or Oz tag, I go, well, that's a win, really, at the end of the day. And
Mm.
thinking of some experiences sort of around COVID, sending professional players away, and they had all these linear training programs. They all trained quite hard. When we first came back, it was almost like experiences in club pre-season. When they came back, guys started feeling a lot of groin pain and that type of work because they weren't doing the stop, start, change of direction. So that was a big lesson for us because we'd never experienced that in a professional level. But if I just took that hat off and went back to the amateur level, that would happen in all the pre-seasons. But the guys that we were actually playing some form of social touch footy, they that didn't happen because they're doing the stop, start, change of direction, different type of linear movements rather than non-linear movements,
Mm.
excel, decel. So that's a big lesson there. So you can actually set yourself up really well.
Yeah, it's definitely forcing you to be elusive. You got the tags, you're trying to move the hips, and then like same as touch, you're trying to like move your body so you can't get any touches from the opposition. So yeah, it's a great way to continue to work on that, and also not really get any of those niggles when you're starting up preseason.
Hi everyone, we just wanted to take a break from this episode. We hope you are enjoying this episode so far and also all the content we have produced. We appreciate all the support from our listeners and followers so far. If you haven't already, sign up to Elite Rugby SandC newsletter today. We provide you a free, exclusive content each and every single week to our subscribers. Link in the bio. Remember to like, subscribe and share Elite Rugby SandC on social media to all your friends and families. So thanks again for your support, and now back to the episode.
Yeah, yeah, and being careful. The sooner you can start that after footy starts, the better. As long as you've got your injury sorted.
Yeah, I think one thing it's really good with the touch footy is I remember Gungahlin Eagles here in Canberra. They run a competition in their club, which is a great way to continue those numbers and make sure that they're going to come back for next year as well. So if you've got quite a big rugby club, let's say 80 or 100 players, boys and girls, doesn't matter what it is, create your own touch footy program. It's a great way to keep getting these people back to the club. It's a great way to keep social aspects, and you can get some numbers for next year, and you can actually control that they're actually going to be warming up and cooling down. That you can control the times and drink breaks and all that, making sure they're doing it correctly as well. So if you do have the resources for that and go to quite a big rugby club, I would highly recommend doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it goes back a long time. I'm thinking like 15 years ago at a club I was at, we did that, and it's actually really fun. Like the guys form their own little groups and buy their own t-shirts, and yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and yeah, didn't have to pay for ovals, which was fantastic too.
Yeah, yeah. So when the holiday season comes around, so that's towards the back end of the off season, what should my training look like? Should I train all the way up to Christmas and then train during that sort of 2 week strange period, between Christmas and New Year's and after New Year's, or should I not be training?
No, I definitely continue training. Yeah, the worst thing that you can do is actually do no training. Look, it might be a little less depending on what's going on, but you still need to get 3 training sessions done in that week. Otherwise, um, you'll go backwards a little bit, and you'll have those little niggles when you do start, because a lot of teams do start back in January. If you're in a more elite program, that 2 weeks off is a little different. You might still only go a couple of times a week because you've been going doing double days leading up to that. What are your thoughts there? I think I know your answer already.
No, I'm sort of the opposite. I think because this year Christmas is on a Sunday, I think it is. I could be wrong, but it's on a weekend. So the way that our Become a Beast off-season program is, you train all the way up to Christmas. I think if you had the Christmas to New Year's, I think you can have off. If you just wanted to relax for that week, more than happy. It's your active recovery type thing. Take it off, but after New Year's, that's when we're slowly coming back into it. And you can sort of have like a transition program. You got, say, if you're a club rugby player, you're probably starting at the end of January. So you could have like 2 to 3 weeks to get back into the training routine and get yourself ready for the preseason. So if you're an elite athlete, choose the days that you want to have off, but you're going to continue to train, because Super Rugby, say for instance, is coming up right after that holiday period, and you're playing pretty damn soon, so you need to be ready to go. For our amateur athletes, I think having a week off would be quite beneficial for you to relax a bit, enjoy the Christmas cake or trifle or whatever you're doing around that time. Go traveling as well, be safe. But if you do want to train, do it. Just be smart about it. You don't have to do any PRs or anything. You're just sort of ticking your box, continue your body to tick over. But yeah, I wouldn't mind having the week off.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm glad you reminded, because I'm purely thinking from an elite and professional point of view, sort of that skew. You normally have 2 weeks off in that period. So they have to keep going, because, you'll do the first day back, you'll be doing Broncos. So you want to be, yeah, you'll want to, they want you to improve even in that time off. So if you're only having a week, I still think if you're sitting around, you've got more time, you might change your training. You might be going for walks, swims, doing that. You still maintain being active in that period of time. But yeah, like you said, you might not be going for big runs in MAS sessions and big gym sessions, but still maintain a bit of healthy activity, walking up mountains, doing, runs along the beach and swims. I think keeping that habit going, even in those areas, is quite a good thing, rather than just completely having any time off from physical work.
Yeah, 100%. And you can, if you do want to train away on your holidays, you could look for like a 20-25 minute sort of session. Just get in there. You're picking a few different exercises, a few different movement patterns, and you're just getting in there, getting your work done, and then you can get out. It doesn't need to be an hour long in the gym. It can just be, as our other business is, Fit in 25.
Yeah. Well, you go and find a park there, chin ups, push ups, dips on those equipment, single leg squats. Yeah, that type of work. I get underneath a swing set, and you can do inverted and body rows on those. There's always a way, but yeah, like you said, doing little bits. But I'm not a massive fan of people having time off, because I just find that if you completely relax, you get little niggles on the other side, which is not what we're about.
100%. So should I do some testing during the off season in the gym and on the field? If so, what should I be testing?
Well, it really depends on your off season, what you've determined your weakness. I really think like training is testing, testing is training. Like people go 1.2, like that's if you're really slow at 6 minutes, but that's once you warm up, that's under 6 minutes to find out your aerobic capacity. With a gym type setting, if you're using something like we use Team Builder, you're actually getting knowledge of results with your 1RMs there as well. Well, what has been your biggest weakness? What has let you go? I'd test those things that were your weaknesses, but you don't need to. It's very different. You don't need to go hammer and tong at those periods of time, because really an off season is different from a pre-season. An off season is almost your active rest and working on some weakness, rather than absolutely smashing yourself. What's your thoughts?
No, I love that. I think when you're slowly coming back into this off-season program, you don't need to do any testing. You're just getting the routine back. And then by the end of the off-season program, if you're feeling good and you've progressed really, really well with your program, yeah, let's do some testing towards the back end. Test your 1.2. You can test some 1 RMs in the gym, or you could go more around the 5 to 3 RMs, changing up a little bit and seeing if you're progressing in that area. And if you have the luxury of having time gates for a 40-meter dash, yep, you can go do that if you want to, vertical jump and all that. But just getting a little gauge of understanding, I think, can go a long way to say, yes, I've actually done really good work this off season. When the preseason comes around, I'm going to be ready to go, and I'm in good shape as well. But don't be too mad if you're not hitting, PRs or anything like that, or you're just a bit away from what your personal record was in the gym, because if you're only just a little bit away, like, you're going to be smashing it during the preseason. You don't want to be getting all your PRs in the off season or anything like that. You're slowly building yourself up, so when that preseason comes around, you can hit the ground running.
Yeah, and as we described, depending on which way it is, ramping up to that at the back end of that off season, it's almost blended into a preseason. It's that transition that you've built up to, and transitioning into that preseason before preseason proper starts. That back end of that period of time, that's when you do your testing that you use for your preseason. Yeah, and most people, do they have a structured off season? I'm not sure. I don't think most people actually do in the amateur, the world. People tend to work more on a preseason, but not an off season program.
So can you think of any other tips athletes need to be aware of during the off season to become a beast?
Yeah, I think nutrition. This is a time to, don't think that, okay, I'm not, playing football. I'm not doing a preseason. My nutrition's not important. In fact, your nutrition's probably more important now, because you might be doing a little less training than normal. So you've actually probably got to nail it. It's a chance for you to experiment as well with what makes you, finding ways that makes you sleep a little better, how you deal with some stress, because you haven't got the pressure of a pre-season or an in-season. You can actually find some experiment with, okay, if I do this type of session, what recovery do I like afterwards, and how do I pull up the next day? So there's little things that you can play with there. And the other thing is, this might be a chance for you to work on some skills, or even get down to, you've got extra time. Why not learn how to analyze your game and cut footage, and meet up with a coach and watch some football together in a non-pressured environment, like a pre-season and a in-season where they've got some more time. That'd be my tips.
Yeah, it's a great time to really understand your routine, and if that routine actually worked during the preseason and in season, and for finals as well. So you can reestablish that and play around with it. You're like, okay, I was doing my gym sessions in the morning. I didn't really feel like that was sort of giving me an advantage. Should I try to do them in the afternoon? Change things around, see how they go. It's a great time to experiment. You could say, no, actually training in the morning actually suited me a lot better, and I felt fresher for the afternoon instead of doing straight gym and then straight to field. So I think it's a great time to work on your routine. And yeah, nutrition. You don't want to be the person who blows up and comes to preseason and the coach is like, whoa. And I don't mean that in a bad way or anything. It's just, you are eating quite a bit during the in season because the workload is just quite high because you're playing games, and you don't want to just go do nothing and still eat the same, and then you're coming back into the gym onto the field and you're quite heavy, because it's just not really going to be good for you in terms of your health and mental health, and you're just really not putting yourself in the best position to maximize your off season and preseason. And also you have to think you're letting the team down as well. So make sure during the off season you're doing something to help better the team and help better you as well. Another tip I would want to say, because it's happened to me, I think it was my first year of senior rugby, was you need to be mindful of running on a hard surface, Don't be wearing metal boots on a grass pitch that is just dead because it's the heat of summer, Metal boots on a hard grass surface is going to equal shin splints. If you get shin splints, it sucks. You're going to be out for several weeks if it's a bad case, and you're just going to be sitting on the sideline watching your teammates do stuff while you have to rest your lower legs because any type of pressure just hurts, So I would highly recommend buying some molded boots. And in that area, looking around like Asics, they got a great range of stuff that can really help your feet, especially if you're a type 5 and you're dealing with a lot of load through your legs because you're quite heavy. And don't be afraid to wear runners as well. You can wear runners to go do your Maz, do your Malcolms, or any type of conditioning out on the field. That's what I used to do. I was wearing my runners and taking my boots on and off. And it's just something that you got to do, and communicate that with your coach. But invest in some molded boots if you haven't, and don't be afraid to wear your runners out there because the ground is hard and you do not want to get shin splints.
Yeah, I thought it might clarify some of that, but I know some sort of New Zealand Kiwi guys that have come over to Australia, and then also people from the Northern Hemisphere, like tradition, depending on our summer. I think this one's going to be a little bit more of a wetter one. Really, really dry, and the grounds are hard. So your feet actually cop and your shins cop a bigger pounding here because the ground is so hard, no matter how many times we try and water it. And most grounds, besides some, say, professional teams, are probably soil based. The sand based is very different. It's a bit softer and drains. And it's not only your feet that suffer when you're going to deck and hitting the deck. It's actually, yeah, a lot of the Kiwi guys, particularly, it's quite funny, find that they feel beat up by the amount, how much the ground hurts here in a preseason. So, yeah, definitely get some career savers or some sneakers. I do think of that for players, but I never have to think of that because I was a back, so I didn't have to wear metal studs. So
yeah, being a forward, I've thought about it a lot, and I've seen people suffer through it. So definitely invest in those. And I'm not saying you have to wear your molded throughout the whole session. If you're going to be doing some scrummaging or type of lineouts, change your boots off. Have the option when you are doing some longer distance running and a lot of volume of running. Have those molded boots ready to go because it's going to save you. Like, speaking from experience, it's going to save you. And it sucked when I had to watch on the sidelines for around 6 weeks and just do off-field conditioning when I really wanted to be out there playing the sport with my teammates.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And I think it's probably similar for most countries. Yeah, wear your long stud scrum boots in the preseason for scrums, and take them off because you're not doing live scrums in your preseason when you're in a team and training environment. You're more in a unit session. That's when you'd be doing that.
100%. So if you thought everything that we talked about was a bit too much for you, well, at Elite Rugby SandC, we have a Become a Beast program, off-season program. This program lasts around 14 weeks and covers all your strength, power, speed, conditioning, and recovery needs. So if you want to maximize your off-season and become a beast, then purchase our program. We've got all our links in the bio. If you purchase this program, we are going to throw in a free copy of the recovery protocol as well. So make that good decision and become a beast. It's a great offer that we got going.
Yeah, look, it's a good investment in money. Let us do the thinking and the worrying about what you need. And you just turn up and put in the effort. And, that way you can really enjoy your off season because we've done the thinking for you as well.
Yeah, you just got to do the doing.
Yep. Which is the fun part.
Yeah. So that's all my questions for today. So thanks for listening, and thanks, Ben, for joining me on. It's been a while since you've done a podcast. We've just been doing the YouTube videos, and I've had all the special guests on. So it's great to have you back on the podcast.
Well, thank you for treating me like one of the stars. I really appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, and everyone, please reach out. If you got a certain rugby athlete coach or SandC coach you want me to interview, let me know. I'm more than open to suggestions on who to have on the podcast next.
Yeah, Great.
So thank you, Ben,
Brilliant.
for
Thank you,
listening,
Kieran.
and thanks, everyone.
Yeah, great work. Lovely. Thanks, mate.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Elite Rugby SandC podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and rate Elite Rugby SandC on Spotify and YouTube, and make sure you follow us on Instagram. Sign up to become a beast via the link in the description or via Instagram page. Also, remember to sign up to our newsletter to receive free bonus content each and every single week. So don't wait, make that good decision, and join Elite Rugby SandC today and take your game to the next level. Thanks for listening.